Hello, our friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family.
Welcome back, family.
So, we want to share with you what we've gotten. So, yesterday after the last video was done, we did some meditations and mantras in the middle of the night as well. And then this morning, more meditation and mantras. Because there's been a lot of incoming information that we want to share with you. And, we want to keep everything afloat, so we're going to share through the movies.
Yay.
And hope that you guys could pick up what we're putting down.
Yes, thank you, movies, for helping us tell what we need to tell.
The Star Wars saga is one of the most well-known sagas in modern times, and it actually starts with episode number 4, so it doesn't begin at the beginning. And so episode 4 was entitled A New Hope. And there is hope. There is hope. And we want to share that with you guys. At the same time, there's also ever-increasing dangers going on as well.
There is. There's so much going on right now, and nobody really knows for sure what's going on behind the scenes. And like with any movie, there's always all kinds of stuff going on behind the scenes, to make a certain play come out the way they want it to.
Yeah, and as we've talked about this great drama that has been unfolding before our very eyes, right now I think we're in a period where a lot of people, half the country feel at ease, maybe not elated, but at ease, like, okay, we're going back to the status quo. And the other, almost a half or so, is feeling really dejected and downtrodden and maybe defeated, maybe irritated, maybe angry, maybe all of the above. There is hope. This is part of what we wanted to get through to you guys. You guys have been following us for a long time. You have a feel for us. So, there was this relatively famous remote viewer, Ed Dames, used to go on coast to coast all the time. And, he was not always perfectly accurate, but such is remote viewing. It's not always perfectly accurate. We are all co-creating our own reality as we go, yet there is a consensus reality. So sometimes powerful forces try to control the census reality, and sometimes they could do that, and sometimes they could do that for a very, very long time. Bending, twisting, manipulating. We know this. So in Star Wars, The New Hope, what we have is the hope is found, and of course you guys know it's Luke Skywalker, who the big shock is the revelation at the end of the show, while actually going into The Empire Strikes Back, really it all gets kind of explained more, is that his father is evil, quote unquote, right? His father is the adversary, the dark side. Now we all have our own shadow self and dark side. That's something else for us to work through. And one of the realizations is we are all mutts. No matter how purebred we think we are, we're not. We're all mutts. And in fact, we're galactic mutts, as this planet has been a place that has seen many, many different types of humanoid and non-humanoid species on it. And the fact is, genetic manipulation is real, and there has been a ton of that going on. So all of us out there are a mix of many different things. Many of you guys have Pleiadian lineage. You might have other lineage as well, such as reptilian lineage. And we could equate, his Luke, I should say, part of his power comes from we could equate it to reptilian lineage, but overcoming the dark tendencies as well. So when we look at the leadership that we see on this planet and we recognize that things are not exactly as they appear, it makes it so much more interesting to recognize this is also a galactic play going on underway right now.
Oh my gosh, it's a huge play. It's the biggest play, and I've seen, been seeing so much information come through as far as what could possibly be going on. But that's when we went into meditation, and when I was remote viewing, I popped in and I could see, we'll call him the boss.
Yeah, we're going to use some language. There was a big famous TV show called The Boss, wasn't that it? But The Boss,
like that,
yeah.
Something like that.
And we could also call him number 1, as we've talked about number 2, and we were wondering who number 2 works for, and then we found out who number 2 works for. Before we get into details, there's a couple different scenarios that are in play, and it really can go down a number of different ways. One of these scenarios is something that is not very pleasant and something we had talked about. And it was a movie called Red Dawn. And as you see there, in our time, no foreign army has ever occupied American soil until now. And this, basically was about a unified attack on the United States. And the original version had Patrick Swayze in it and Charlie Sheen and Emilio Estevez. And then the second version, I can't even remember the actor's name, but he plays Thor. Anyway, it was a pretty good, entertaining movie. This scenario I have seen many times in visions playing out. And that's really one of the main reasons why I left Florida, even more than the potential for hurricanes, earth change things, or even too much EMF, if you know what I mean. It's because in my visions, that's what I was seeing. I was seeing Florida and the American Southeast at first in big detail being invaded. And, and also other spots too, although the clarity wasn't so much there. It's like I knew or I heard people talking in the visions about infiltration along the Canadian border as well. And also perhaps coming up from Mexico, as well as there already being a whole bunch here. So, this is something that the possibility has been increasing, and in reality, in the last 48 hours, it's troubled Cindy tremendously because she's been getting a lot of messages from the Galactics that this is looking more and more likely. But there is also, as we were saying, a new hope.
Well, definitely a silver lining to all of this, that they want us to put our energy toward the silver lining and not toward anything negative, because we have a lot of sway, and that's one thing that's been hidden from us mostly, is our ability to change outcomes, our ability to use our energy to, get what we want. And what I saw with the boss, I'm just so scared to. He's busy. He's signing papers. He's kind of frantic. He's trying to make a deal. He's trying to cut things out certain ways so that hopefully there'll be very little disruption with our United States as we know it,
With our lives and everything. Yeah, and there was a book that was written about making deals, and something to do with maybe artwork, I think, written by, I guess, somebody, that might be a number one there, a boss, yeah. So what we have going on is something much bigger. This is really negotiations going on, so to speak, at a much higher level before things get kicked off to a place where the Galactic Federation, for instance, doesn't want it to go. Now, again, free will, they really can't intervene unless there is something that is, worse, potentially worse than what we saw in 1914 through 1918, and then again, 1939 through 1945. If you could figure out what those years represented and the big events going on there, then you understand what we're talking about. They want to avoid a replay of that on a bigger scale, a much bigger scale. So, that is part of the negotiations that's sort of underway right now. I say sort of because it's unclear how it will be received. It's trying to be avoided at all costs. We recognize, too, so we start with episode 4. Then they put out a series, it's going back to Star Wars 1, 2, and 3. And we get acquainted with a certain Senator Palpatine. From Naboo, right? Wasn't he from Naboo too? I'm trying to remember. But anyway, he's a senator, a rising star, and he becomes the head of the Senate. Interesting how they have the same sort of system we have, isn't it? Same as Rome, by the way. And so all along, people don't know that he is actually really the dark Sith Lord the whole time, manipulating things. And, I don't think that the people that we have in charge in reality are at the same power, because they're more puppets. But yet, it shows the infiltration that happens. And in fact, the Federation is attacked. The Republic is attacked. Interesting. The Republic is attacked. Look at the symbology here again. The Republic is attacked by this droid army, which is controlled by Count Dooku, who is really under Darth Sidious, who is in fact Senator Palpatine the whole time. So, he maneuvers to have an attack happen so that meanwhile, the whole time he's doing this, he's also building up another army that's going to become the army of the Galactic Empire, the NW Empire, if you know what I mean. That's been in place the whole time, ready to swoop in, and that appears to be the savior and save them, but in reality, it's just the opposite. And so this is a Machiavellian play that we see going on there, and it's reflected in our reality right now, most definitely. So what is being put out there is perhaps an offer of terms for a new Declaration of Independence.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's exactly what I saw, and that's what's concerning me, because the outcome is so extremely uncertain. The best outcome is for a nothing burger. That's really, really, really what we want. We want a nothing burger. We want things to, slowly but surely go back to a way where we can trust and understand. I guess we don't want a total nothing burger. We do need the system to change. The system must change, but to affect as few lives as possible, because people still need doctors. People still need help. People still need certain things, and we don't want to see any of that distribution or anything like that upset. And this is what's trying to be prevented right now, is for our system to not be upset.
So, it's interesting because on the 7th, the FCC, right, came out with a notice basically talking about the requirements under federal law to send messages from number one. Isn't that curious? That just happened on the 7th. And we have all this going on. We've heard about all these potential information drops that could happen, but we really haven't seen anything manifest to a high degree. And of course, there's the whole ostrich thing, sticking in the head in the sand by half the country, and the other half trying to point to what is being spoken about. So it's interesting that the FCC comes out with this statement that it's a law that number one must be able to broadcast in states of emergency. So we also had several years ago already, now in December, we were told to be prepared for 6 months on your own with nothing, and that's what we're looking at right now, because Cindy's getting that message loud and clear that this might be a hunker down time for a good 6 months. And one of the reasons why the guides haven't wanted us to pick a permanent spot is because of where the new lines will be drawn and boundaries will be drawn as to the new potential countries that might be declared. So it would behoove those, we feel that it would behoove people in general to be somewhere that is more under the influence of number one than under the influence of the other side, because the other side represents the Red Dawn power structure, which is very, very totalitarian. And while this is why we have referring to Star Wars, because the hope lies in a very flawed individual with certain lineage. Yet what we have going on is much bigger than any individual, because it's so far beyond the individuals. We're talking, a federation of planets, and we're talking interdimensional wars and battles as well. When we really look at who rules this planet, It's a power structure that would boggle many people's minds because, at the upper echelons, it's not really Homo sapiens sapiens calling the shots.
Oh, no, not at all. And I think that's the one thing people have a hard time wrapping their head around is this is not this is not a place where human beings make the rules. It's much higher. And what's happening is we're going into this photon belt where there is more light. We are in the midst of times changing, which means forcibly as the times change, as we move into the photon belt, our system has to change. And we want this to be as gentle a change as possible for the human race because we need our vibrations to stay high.
Yeah, that's imperative because, the dark energies that have controlled us and done genetic mutations and manipulations on us, again, we are just simply a resource. Mm-hmm. A resource. This whole planet and everybody on it is just a resource. It's one conquered territory. Mm-hmm. That's it. That's as simple as it is. And so there is this, dark empire out there. And we find ourselves in reality in that territory of the control by this dark empire. But there is, a galactic federation out there that is battling it on so many different fronts. There is a fascinating show. We watched a season or two of this just because of the whole premise. Mm-hmm. And Kiefer Sutherland, I always like Kiefer, by the way, his dad was Donald Sutherland. Invasion of the Body Snatchers, which might be a little more real than we think. Mm-hmm. Anyway, with Designated Survivor, the whole premise is he is like 9th on the totem pole as far as the line of succession. And we did a video inspired because of what we got from the Galactics back in September, I believe, about line of succession. After we had done the August one, telling you guys to brace for yourselves because it's not going to be a smooth period from November 3rd to January 20th. It's not going to be smooth. We knew this. We have gotten this the whole time, and you guys could go back and please do go back and watch the old videos and see what we have gotten. Because it's been playing out according to the play, according to the grand drama that we see. In this, he is the designated survivor in case anything major happens. There always is a designated survivor. Well, while everybody was together, Congress, number 1, number 2, the whole system, boom, right? And all of a sudden, the only one left is number 9. He's like the Commerce Secretary or something. And so, as you see this picture, it could be a foreshadowing in many ways. Let us pray that it's not the case. But this feels like this is one of those times when the movies, wow, they seem to get things pretty accurate at times. We know The Simpsons have been accurate at times to an eerie degree. Mm-hmm. So this is also something to be very, very aware of right now. There's so much going on. Where did I put my computer? My computer's missing. I wonder what's on my computer. Mm-hmm. What could possibly be on my computer or anybody else's computer that's missing right now? We don't know, but we might come to find some interesting things out later.
Most definitely. That's another thing where we're told is there's some things on somebody's computer that is actually going to benefit our freedom, so to speak. It'll actually help things move in the direction we need them to move as we transition and change. Hopefully things will go smoother because of what's on these computers.
These movies can be so amazing when you look at them and then look at them in retrospect. Again, Star Wars, that whole scenario, Red Dawn, that was such an amazing movie as well. It's amazing how life imitates the movies sometimes. And so, as we've given you our visions and what we have gotten and information, this might actually be, and this is not necessarily exactly how it breaks down, and I think that we feel that there wouldn't break down exactly this way. But this might be the only real peaceful way of a solution without there being all these movies, coming into reality.
Right. And certain areas are going to have certain rules and things, and everybody's different. Everybody needs to pick what's going to work best for them. It's just that nobody really knows exactly how things are going to be split up at the moment.
No, but it was interesting too because there's a word on here in this map that starts with a C and has an H after it, ends with an A, by the way. That part of this would be kind of what would you say, an offering.
Yeah,
an offering, so to speak, to that particular entity.
Mm-hmm. Right. So what we want ultimately is to have as little change as possible, but change is definitely among us.
And that goes back again to why we are staying mobile, because we're going to watch and see how things are split. And it might be that we have to, jump over a border here, jump over a border there, if we are allowed to jump over borders. Because where the new lines draw up, there might not be any crossing borders like there isn't currently in many different countries. And if we recognize that, if you're in, say, California, and the rest of your family is over in Colorado or Texas, that might be a different country that there's no traveling to. So that's another thing to keep in mind.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Just a lot of stuff on our plates right now. Be really, really good to yourself. Understand that the country's in a very stressful position, and if you're an empath and you're picking up on that, then you need to get your rest. You really need to take care of yourself. Take good care of yourself. Baths, hygiene, super important right now. Eat healthy, all of these things, because these energies incoming are harsh.
Yeah, 3 a.m. to like 4 or 5 in the morning was mantras and meditation, and then this morning, after a bath, we take a bath in a ritualistic sense, trying to cleanse ourselves. This is a traditional like yogic technique, and then back to meditations, mantras, and QiGong before coming back with you guys to get our clarity, and also abstaining from things is a good idea, especially in these times. Build up your health, build up your immune system, get stronger in every way. Be flexible as well. Flexibility is key in more ways than one. And I mean mentally flexible, emotionally flexible. Be ready to perhaps change some plans if so be. It could help you in the long run. We want to thank all of our supporters on Ko-Fi and Patreon. Make sure everybody is subscribed and has the bell clicked. Anybody that needs to reach us for sessions, it's EEARTS at Proton Mail or evolutionaryenergyarts at gmail.com. And thanks for your patience. Sometimes it might take us a day or two to get back. I was answering stuff for like 3 hours yesterday. So it's getting busy, but we want to help as many as possible. God bless, guys. Stay safe. Namaste.
Namaste.